The the weirdest and the funniest reaction that you have received when you tell people that you have worked on a brand like Kama Sutra Deos?
दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा रोग क्या सोचेंगे लोग? कोई कुछ नहीं सोचता. It's called supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
According to you, why is it that some brands manage to make that lasting impression while others they fade into obscurity?
ठंडा मतलब Coca-Cola. Anything that is interesting, the mind will retain.
Like, how can marketing get to that 5%?
The secret sauce is very simple.
I'm not quite sure if. No, I'm not gonna drink it.
This is the answer to your question.
For our first episode today, we have someone really special. He's someone who has built, shaped, and repositioned some of the biggest brands in India. From Novartis to Paras Pharma to Raymond Consumer Care, he's someone who knows exactly how to get inside the mind of a consumer, but more importantly, how to stay there. Joining with us today, we have Mr. Ajay Rawal. Ajay, welcome to Orange Table Podcast.
Thank you very much, Vikas. It's indeed a pleasure to be here for your first episode.
Thank you. Ajay, before we get into the deep stuff, I have a silly question for you. Okay. What is the weirdest and the funniest reaction that you have received when you tell people that you have worked on a brand like Kama Sutra Deos?
Well, it brings a smile on the face, and the reaction, I can sum it up in one word, which is the longest in English language. It's called supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, which actually means wonderful. Every time you see the brand name KS or Kama Sutra, it connects with the deepest human desires, and hence it always brings a smile on the face. That's the kind of experience I've had while working with a range of these products, to the extent that 20-year-olds whom I have met personally, they use the deo when they are at their hostel, but when they come home, they keep it behind the closet. You don't really want to be seen. The parents should not be, they expect not to be seen with the brand in front of the parents.
Because of the stigma around the word Kama Sutra.
Yes, because of the stigma around it.
Okay. So Ajay, you have been in the branding industry for more than 2 decades now. And as marketer myself, we often strive to craft campaigns or crack taglines that we feel should resonate with our audience, hoping it will stick with them or even go viral for that matter. But then again, as marketers, we know that it's just something that doesn't happen as often as we'd like it to.
Absolutely.
Right? Over the years, we have seen countless ads, taglines, TVCs, DVCs, but there are only a few that truly stand the test of time. According to you, why is it that some brands manage to make that lasting impression while others they fade into obscurity?
Let me go back to my learning over the years while teaching as a visiting faculty also at management institutes. So more than 10 years back, I once happened to ask students in one of the management institute that what do you remember of the class that I took, say, last Sunday? And the answer was, sir, there was this ad that you showed, or there was this interesting concept that you told. Beyond that, they were not able to tell me anything differential. So I understood that probably the mind has only a limited capacity to remember information and facts and stuff like that. So what does it remember? It remembers something which is differential. Another experiment I did at another management institute where it was my first class, and I asked who's the most intelligent student in the class. So obviously everyone was looking at each other, but then they all pointed to the class representative, and she came, and I requested her to come near the board. And this was the 4th semester. I said, you passed through last 3 semesters. Let's go back to your semester 1. How many subjects did you have in the first semester? Her answer was 13. Even I was flabbergasted, 13 subjects in a semester. Okay, I said, now please write down the names of all the 13 subjects.
Okay.
Can you imagine 8 were the maximum that she was able to write down? Now imagine if memorizing the names of subject itself is so difficult, how would you remember what you have studied in that subject? Right? So over a period of time, I've realized that mind has this limited capacity. Subsequently, I went on to do my neuro-linguistic programming license, and I do have a license for NLP. And that also helped me understand and appreciate that we can only remember something which is differential, right?
Okay.
Let's take another example over here. You've heard of a brand called Revital,
Yeah.
right? We all know.
Yes.
It's been advertised for the last 20 odd years in the country. If I may ask you, do you remember what elements or how many words adorn the packaging of Revital? And I do have the pack here with me, and we'll take this test of yours.
Okay.
Let me also give you a cue. There are at least 20 words on the front
20.
of the pack of Revital. 20 words. It's been 20 years of advertising. Tell me, how many do you remember?
We'll have the brand name, of course. We'll have the tagline. I think the tagline is GOG Bhar ke.
Good.
Okay.
But the tagline is not on the pack.
Oh. Okay. We'll have something around the ingredients of.
I want the exact words.
Then I don't know. I don't know.
So
Maybe I'm not the consumer of the product. That's why I don't remember it.
possibly that's the reason. But even if you were to be the consumer of a product, let's say you use a toothpaste daily. Tell me what elements are there on that toothpaste.
I don't remember anything else other than the name.
The name and possibly the variant or the color with which you associate.
Yeah.
That obviates your buying effort. That's what branding does.
Yep.
It reduces the consumer buying effort. What does a tagline do, or what does anything which becomes memorable do? It reduces the consumer buying effort. Let me ask you a very simple question. और क्या चल रहा है?
Fog.
See, that's the association and the connect, because this particular phrase resonates with you. It resonates with the common parlance that consumers use every day. When we meet someone, when we greet someone, we generally tend to ask, और क्या चल रहा है?
Yes.
Life में क्या चल रहा है? Similar was what another brand did many years back, which was Thanda Matlab.
Coca-Cola.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of communication which connects with the consumer's parlance and becomes memorable. But yes, even for that memorability, you have to have exposure multiple times.
Yeah.
Doing it once, twice, 10 times won't help. So it has to be done consistently over a period of time. And that's the essence of brand building. Consistency in all aspects of promotion. Whether it is a brand, whether it is packaging, whether it is color, whether it is the communication message, there has to be a consistency across. Then only we build long-lasting brands.
Yeah. You said something like when you asked the students in the final semester to remember the subjects of the first semester and they managed to remember only a part of it. From a general audience's perspective, is there a number or a percentage that you believe a human mind manages to retain that only this percentage of information?
That's again a question that honestly I don't think anyone else has been really able to answer it. Probably there are multiple numbers that are put together. Some say 2%, 1%. But the fact is that our eyes are 4K HD cameras.
Yeah.
Our ears are audio devices. Now imagine what amount of data is going every second. What I've been able to appreciate is that the data goes into our brain at the speed of 4 to 10 Mbps. And the retention of that data, or the part of retention of the data, is only at 0.2 Mbps. So you can imagine, it's something very, very minuscule that really gets stuck to the mind. And it has to be differential. It has to be interesting.
Yeah.
Why do we continue scrolling, today Reels and various other templates on the social media apps? Because that interest continues to renew. So anything that is interesting, the mind will retain. And differential, which has not been exposed to.
Okay. So speaking of content, we know there's a sheer volume of content that is being created and bombarded on the audiences, right? And given the shrinking attention span, do you think modern marketing today faces a bigger challenge in making a lasting impression in the audience's mind? I mean, how can a brand cut through the noise and connect with the true audiences?
Let's look at it in two ways. What happened when television started in India since 1975 and what is the situation today?
Yeah.
Okay, let's first look at today. Advertisers have spent 300 crores in last 24 hours on advertising. Okay, and almost 50% is on digital. Which brand do you remember seeing in last 24 hours on your mobile?
I recently saw a campaign by Tira Beauty, but that's because I was researching for one of my clients.
Right.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
Otherwise, I mean, I pretty
I know
much
it's a
use-
challenge. You know, Google says that the attention span earlier used to be 12 seconds and now it's gone down to 8 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's look at what happened in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. You know, there was no remotes, there were no mobiles, there were hardly phones, you know. So what were the means of entertainment for people? Sit in front of the television, look at, of course, there were movies that used to come once on a Sunday, but advertisements were common means of entertainment to the
Yeah.
extent that, you know, they become household jingles. The jingles of those brands became on the tongue of every person
Yeah.
you know, who were exposed during those times. So whether it was a Videocon washing machine or, you know, the Lirils ad or say a jingle of Bajaj bulb or Nirma, you know,
Yeah.
we would remember them more than, you know, probably something that happens in a movie. And they were so hilarious and funny and so memorable. One, they were memorable because of the content that was created. Second, the exposure to us was virtually almost at a regular interval. And that cemented the brand's core idea into the minds of consumers. I mean, the jingles were so amazing, popular, you can say, and so melodious.
Yeah.
You know, I love the Bajaj bulb jingle.
Okay. Can you sing it for us?
Oh, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, it said, जब मैं छोटा बच्चा था बड़ी शरारत करता था मेरी चोरी पकड़ी जाती जब रोशन होता बजाज क्या रंगीन जवानी थी एक राजा और एक रानी थी राजा रानी शर्मा जाते जब रोशन होता बजाज अब मैं बिल्कुल बूढ़ा हूँ गोली खाकर जीता हूँ लेकिन आज भी घर के अंदर रोशनी देता बजाज. Now you see, from childhood to, you know,
To the
old
old
age,
age, yeah.
Bajaj bulb's
Always
presence
there.
is,
Yeah.
you know, omnipresent. That was the kind of, so the perception was created more through song and dance and drama and the memorability of the brand. And of course, there were limited brands advertising from 1975 to 2000. Only the brands which were there on television, they became big by serendipity.
Yeah.
But today that serendipity doesn't work. We have 900 plus TV channels in our country.
Okay.
And you know, leave apart sub 30-year-olds, but even elders today, you know, most of the people spend their time on mobiles. So where is the attention span going to? And therefore, the task of marketers is becoming more and more difficult in absentia of creating a differential content which will resonate with the consumers. We have to rely more on frequency. You know, that frequency requires more money. And therefore, we fall into the trap of only if you spend will you reach to the end consumer. I think it's more to do with creation of good creative content which will resonate in the first go with the consumers. That's the task today, even more than ever before.
But do you feel that today more so than ever that audiences are now just hooked onto their devices?
Well, the average in India is 6 to 10 hours
6 to 10 hours.
a day. Yes, you can include emails and other stuff
Yeah, I mean, all
also
the
in
other
it.
devices.
But then that's what we are seeing.
This actually reminds me of the previous conversation that we had about why people end up going to their screens again and again. You said something like screens today are the surrogate way of being happy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Let's get into that.
See, our mind is a beautiful organ inside us, and it needs to be associated somewhere.
Yeah.
You can't leave it without a rudder. Let's put it this way. So mind needs to attach to something. So when you are bored, you go to Instagram.
Yeah.
When you have to search for a product, you go to Amazon. When you have to search for an information, you go to Google, because they are the ones who are offering you variable rewards.
Yep.
Right? So your boredom's resolution is an Instagram or a Facebook. But then once you go over there, there is something unique which happens. In our brain, there are various parts. One of the part is called VTA, ventral tegmental axis, from where dopamine release happens. Dopamine release stimulates the reward center in the brain, which is called nucleus accumbens. So the dopamine release stimulates the mind, and the mind feels good. And therefore we seek for more reasons to feel good. And then there is a continuous scrolling that continues to happen. And you feel good. After a time you realize, oh my God, 1.5 hours have passed.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's today's reality. You got to be mindful about it as to how much time are you going to devote where.
So, given the sheer volume of content that has been created and bombarded towards your audiences, right? Now, looking at it from a brand's perspective, is there a foolproof way to actually get inside the consumer's mind and make a lasting impression?
There is not a foolproof, but there is a consistent way to do so. And the consistency is what builds the brand in the consumer's mind. In fact, we don't sell brands. My personal philosophy is we do not sell brands. We are actually occupying a share in the mind of a consumer. Okay? And people also don't buy brands. They buy a better version of themselves.
Yeah. Something that relates to them.
Yeah, the one example I remember many years back, Starbucks, I think, created a cold coffee called Unicorn Frappuccino. It would come in different colors, and as you keep on sipping it, the colors will change, and it wasn't that great tasting, but it was great looking. People would take a photo and put it on Instagram. So it was the association. It is what makes you feel. Why do we buy brands? Why do we buy an Apple or a high-end car? We want to look good and feel better.
Yeah.
The challenge is that people lack self-esteem. We don't like ourselves. Actually, when someone praises you for the shirt that you're wearing, you get a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Actually, that person has helped you like yourself better. He or she has raised your self-esteem. And that's for the same reason is why people buy brands. But the brands have to occupy certain space in the consumer's mind. In every category in India today, you have multiple brands. But can every human being name those brands?
Not possible. Yep.
Right? Even if I were to ask you, say, the mobile brands or the television brands or the toothpaste brands or the energy drink brands, you cannot name all.
Yeah.
You will name the one which is in your conscious recognition. And that brand name also stands for some values. Let's take this very interesting example of how a brand stands for certain values. I have this drink here with me. It's called Gatorade. Nice.
Okay.
You know what it is?
Yeah, it's an energy drink.
It's an energy drink. Yeah. Okay. Let me do an experiment over here with you. I will take off the label of Gatorade. There you go. Now let's replace it with something very interesting. And I will replace it with another label.
What's the label called?
That's a label called Harpic. And I would like you to drink it, please.
Okay. I'm not quite sure if. No, I'm not gonna drink it.
This is the answer to your question. Every brand has to occupy certain values in your mind. So, the more consistently a brand communicates its values to the consumer, the more differentially it communicates, that's how it cements its place in the consumer's mind. You can drink a Gatorade, but you can't think of drinking Harpic, right?
Yeah.
That's what brands stand for. Even, in pain management, say we have a brand, say, called Amritanjan. If I ask you what Amritanjan does, what will you say?
Headaches.
Interesting.
Strong smell.
And similarly, when we think of Move, what comes to mind is backache.
Backache, pain relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, are both the brands substitutable? Can Move go for headache? The answer is no. Even if Move were to launch a headache relief product, it will not succeed because the consumer associate it with back and a larger surface area and application and burning. Similarly, if Amritanjan were to launch a tube, it may not sell.
Yeah.
So therefore, in every consumer's mind, there is format specificity, there is brand specificity, there is brand value specificity, and it's cemented over a period of time. It's cemented by advertising, it's cemented by years of usage, availability at home. It's also cemented by the sensorials that the brand has. Today there is no substitute of Vicks Vapor Rub.
Yeah.
Can you think of any other Vapor Rub?
No.
Yes, there are many in the market. But the fact is,
it's just the association that we have had over the years.
Exactly.
That the moment the problem arises, we think of only a particular name or a particular brand that provides a solution.
That's one. And second, you've been born. When you were a small child, Vicks Vapor Rub sensorials are there in your subconscious recognition.
Yeah.
So now any other sensorial would not make sense to you. So this is how we imbibe the brand values as we grow up.
So actually, to think of it, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, once a brand acquires a real estate in a consumer's mind, it is actually very hard to change that perception. Don't you think?
Absolutely. The semiotics or the colors stand for something. Like say the largest selling, 80% of what sells in KSDOs is the red one, KS Park. And trust me, multiple times I've asked people how many times they remember the variant name. It's very difficult. People associate with the color.
Yeah.
Maggie.
Yeah.
Which color?
Red and yellow.
So yellow is the most profound color that flows across, right? But in certain categories, there is a color consistency that flows across their range. But in categories where there is a differentiation in terms of sensorials, there is a difference in variance, which the variance would actually span different colors. So, those nuances also one needs to understand, where there is a consistency across the range or where there should be different colors in the same range. Yeah. Now, that's also a nuance in itself. Like say deodorants we'll buy looking at the color because that eases the buying effort.
Yeah.
It obviates your effort to think about it and read and stuff like that. I know one instance where one of the deodorant brand, they harmonize the color across all the range and the entire range looks blue. And now the people are confused. The earlier that variant that they used to buy, it was the largest selling at one point of time. I don't want to name the brand. But that variant used to come in a slightly yellowish tone and now there is no yellow, it's all blues. The entire range is blue.
Okay.
And that confuses the brain. We want simplicity. As consumers, we look for not using our brain for one very simple reason. Brain consumes 25% of all energy produced in the body. So whenever you have to think, it's an effort. We get thoughts. We get 60,000 thoughts in a day.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you have to think to buy something, when you have to think for a solution to a problem, it's a pain. So hence, mind wants to do only one thing, that is what is fun and easy rather than what's hard and necessary.
So in essence, you mean to say for marketers, at least whenever they're crafting a brand campaign, they try to make the communication as simple as possible for the audiences.
Absolutely. I would say it should be as comfortable for a fifth standard student to understand.
How crucial is simplicity in branding and marketing?
Oh, that's the most important aspect.
Let's
It's the most
dive a little
given that we are appealing to the minds of consumers, and mind doesn't want any kind of dissonance. It doesn't want to think. It doesn't want to do anything that's hard. Hence, you got to make it simple, as well as entertaining.
Yeah.
Then there is one little chance that you will create an impact.
Yeah, I mean, if I think about myself when I am going and purchasing a product, there's a very simple equation that follows. Like, I have a problem and this product provides a solution, right? I mean, I don't remember the last time when I bought a product and I thought about okay, this is the brand campaign by this brand, or this is the brand tagline,
Yeah.
or whoever is the CEO of the company, or how big your office is.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, marketers need to realize that we often get caught in that loop of creating this narrative, this storyline, crack these campaigns and crack these taglines.
Yeah.
But we end up forgetting this one simple thing. Customers don't care how big or small your brand is. Customers care about one thing, that is, if your brand is providing solution to the problem.
Absolutely. Give you an example of a magician. Invariably a magician picks up a person which is his own person, we call a stooge, from the crowd. But others don't care. They don't care, who comes on the stage. What they're interested in, something differential, something interesting, something entertaining, and something out of the world that they've never seen before. So that's true of all consumers. In fact, that's the underlying human principle, that people don't care. Every person is 10,000 times more interested in himself or herself than he or she is in you.
Yeah.
They have a problem. The brand needs to understand the problem and give a solution. Whoever gives the best solution, whoever is visibly giving the best solution, and post-trial, they're happy and satisfied with it, then they actually don't need to be educated again to buy the product. They will go by default to purchase it. So marketers have two challenges. First is to occupy the space in the mind.
Yeah.
So if in a category you tend to buy 2 or 3 brands, invariably, so those first 2-3 brands will always be there on top of your mind, or in spontaneous recall when we do brand tracks. There'll be many other brands, right? They always, there is a repertoire of brands that's available in the market, but we settle for the first 2 because it eases our buying effort.
Yeah.
So again, the same correlation. However convenient we can make it for the end consumers, the better is the chance for purchase and repurchase. There's also a very interesting principle over here. For buying anything and everything, again, it's category dependent. We go through a 6-step process.
Okay.
And the 6-step process starts with awareness, knowledge, liking, preference, conviction, and then purchase. It's not that you are aware and you purchase. Yes, that may happen in a new soft drink, 20 rupees pack, and you can try once because you're just aware, you don't think about the balance elements. But say in a healthcare category, you need to find out some more information, you need to understand whether you should buy that brand or not. So people go consciously or unconsciously through this judgment to eventual purchase. Awareness, knowledge, liking, preference, conviction, purchase. Once they are happy with the purchase, they don't want to again get into this cycle of selection. They're happy buying it again and
back
again.
to the purchase again.
Till this product probably is not available or for any other reason out of market. Then they have to again go through that painful process of selection which no one wants.
Yeah.
Hence, brands need to occupy the space in minds of consumers. Once that space is occupied, why do we advertise again and again? Why does Coca-Cola, which is one of the most well-known word in in the world needs to advertise, because you've occupied that space. Now you need to maintain that space. So why do we need to advertise again? Because you have to maintain that space and not relinquish it to another competitor.
Yep.
So that's the principle, in marketing and advertising.
That's why they say customer is the king at the end of the day, right?
Finally, our salaries come from there.
So tell me something. What are the different ways or formats that a brand can expose themselves to the customers?
That reminds me of a very interesting definition of the word modesty. Modesty is expecting someone will discover for themselves how excellent we really are. Now, there's nothing called modesty when it comes to consumer communication and consumer exposure of a brand. Give you an example. So you see the red color KS Spark here.
Yeah.
When I launched the pocket pack, because the market was moving to smaller packs, when I launched the pocket packs, I said, let's pre-pack this in a dispensing unit itself.
Okay.
Let's pre-pack this in a dispensing unit itself at the factory level. How does that help? First, the person in the field who has to do the last mile of the product being available at the retailer, they don't have to put in any effort in putting it into a hanger. It goes directly. Second, at the retailer, when it's there, it's clearly visible and hanging, right? To a consumer, this is a means of brand exposure.
Okay.
Every possible opportunity that consumer gets exposed to a brand is cementing two things. One, it could be that he's on the decision-making process for considering to buy the brand, or he's already a user of the brand, but that exposure again cements the brand presence in the mind. And how did I realize, this was the first pocket pack, and KS Spark today has almost 20% share in the pocket pack market, one single variant. Okay. How did I realize was earlier when I was in Paras Pharma, at that time also I realized that when someone had to buy a move, they had to go and ask at the retail level. Unless you pay for a retailer's window, he doesn't give you any vantage point for keeping your brand for general exposure to a consumer. So therefore, at that time, I had this opportunity to create a very innovative 5-gram pack of move. There's a string of 12, so you can just hang it at the retail level. It's a small tube inside. It's a 5-gram tube inside this particular packing. But what it imparts is visibility at the retail level to the end consumers.
Okay.
So every incremental opportunity for a brand to be visible to a consumer is kind of cementing the presence of that brand in the consumer's mind. And that's what marketers have to do consistently. Be visible. वो कहते हैं ना, जो दिखता है
वही बिकता है.
वही बिकता है.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So, Ajay, we spoke about how to get inside the consumer's mind, how to expose your brand to the consumers at different touch points, right? We also spoke about the importance of simplicity and consistency in branding and marketing. Now let's talk about why certain brand communications actually fail. Now, to look at it from a different point of view, in today's world, it is flooded with content.
Absolutely.
Right? The 20-second reels or 30-second reels, there's the vertical video format, it is flooded everywhere. And doesn't matter how hard you try, there will be times when some of your branded content will fade away into the background unless it truly resonates with the core audiences.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
How does one separate forgettable branding or marketing from impactful storytelling?
That's a real challenge, honestly. You are into the agency, and content creation is a part and parcel of your job.
Yeah.
Content approval is a part and parcel of, say, a marketer's job. And everyone is confident about the content that they create. But there's another definition of the word confidence. A confidence is that quiet, assured, staid feeling till you fall flat on the face. Honestly speaking, 80% of communication is merely a reminder. It lacks insight.
80%.
80%.
80.
80. 50% communication is somewhat there. There are only 5% advertising which have real consumer insight with which a consumer would resonate and would be happy. Either he becomes the user of the brand, or if he's already a user, would be happy that my brand is doing such kind of a communication.
So what is the secret sauce to, like, how can marketing get to that 5%?
The secret sauce is very simple. A marketer, any organization has to apply the principle of 4 R's.
4 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 4 R's stand for reality, relevance, resonate, reaction.
Reality,
Relevance, resonates, reaction. So one has to look at the first R is about the deep consumer insight. How much time are we spending with the consumers? How much time are we spending in the market understanding the consumer? How much effort have we taken to understand how does consumer communicate?
Yeah.
How much do we understand the usage and attitude of a category at consumer level? Is it only based on some research data that comes to you by virtue of a research agency and you take it for granted? Or are you spending your time in the market?
Yeah.
Ideally, 30% of a marketer's time should be with the end consumer, because the consumers are changing. Every 5 years, things are changing.
Yeah. Because data will only take you so far.
Absolutely.
It is the actual consumer behavior that will help you get a clarity as to why are they purchasing and what are the triggers for them to make a purchase decision.
Absolutely. So marketers need to spend that much time. Then only you will have continuously improving consumer insight.
Yeah.
When you have a good consumer insight is where that insight will help translate whether that insight is relevant also to the consumer or not. If you start with something which is not relevant, say an example, I'll give you a very weird example, but an advertisement of a nail enamel would not enamor me because I'm not the target audience. I don't use nail polish.
Yeah.
Right. So let's take example of Amrutanjan we talked about. Do you know, you said Amrutanjan is used for headache.
Yeah.
Do you know Amrutanjan is used for something else as well?
Really?
Yeah.
What?
And in fact, I would believe that more than half of Amrutanjan is used for that indication, which is not headache.
What is it?
that indication is peace of mind. You apply Amrutanjan on your head and you get a good night's sleep. And there are people addicted to it and they love the smell, they love the fragrance, they love the sensorials, and they can't get sleep if they don't apply Amrutanjan. Now, headache will happen once in a while. So the consumption opportunity is maybe once in a month or once in 2 months. But this is a daily consumption opportunity.
Okay.
So can you discover what appeals to the consumer? What are the right consumer needs and insights? So that's the reality of consumer. When you get to that reality and what you're going to talk, would it resonate with the consumer? Would it say, okay, I associate with this challenge? The consumer has a problem. Your product has certain feature which gives certain benefits, and that problem should be solved in the best possible manner compared to any competition by your product.
Yeah.
Then he'll be happy.
Yeah.
So therefore, reality, relevance, resonates, and then only comes reaction, which in terms of purchases. After purchasing, if you're happy, satisfied with the product, you'll go and buy it again. So therefore, every advertising is serving the same principle. When we look at devising a communication, does that communication has reasonable consumer insight, which is the reality? Is it relevant to the target audience that you're talking about? Would it resonate with the end consumer? Bring a smile or emotion, right? And then only it'll result into the end outcome which we expect is, the purchase.
So Ajay, over the past couple of months that we have interacted with each other, there's one thing that I've noticed, that you emphasize a lot on the fact that creativity comes from asking the right questions. What do you mean by that?
Remember when you were a kid, or for that matter, any kid, what do kids do?
Ask a lot of questions.
Ask a lot of questions. Why? But as we grow up, our propensity to ask question reduces. We have fear. We have this biggest disease that exists on the earth, which is called दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा रोग क्या सोचेंगे लोग.
Log. Yeah.
कोई कुछ नहीं सोचता. At the age of 20, you think everyone is thinking about you. At the age of 40, you appreciate few people were thinking about you. And at the age of 60, you finally understand no one was thinking about you. But we spend our entire life thinking, ये क्या सोचेगा, वो क्या सोचेगा, मेरा neighbor क्या सोचेगा, peer क्या सोचेगा, boss क्या सोचेगा, neighbor का कुत्ता क्या सोचेगा. Actually, no one is interested in you, honestly. All they are interested is in themselves. You must appreciate this process. And therefore, I think a marketer needs to ask a lot of questions. Why does a consumer buy the product? Why did the consumer lapsed? What makes him buy a competitor brand? So if I were to just summarize it, why, what, when, where, and how.
The 5W and 1H.
The 4 W's and 1 H would ideally summarize everything that you require to get into the consumer's mind. The insights that we talk about.
Yeah.
The reality, the deep consumer reality that we just discussed.
Yeah.
Right? Only when you do that, when you ask questions, and I tell this to students also in the class, that when you have to ask a question, just look at the 4 W's and 1 H. You will be able to clarify any doubt that you might have about a particular concept.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let's take another interesting thing, that you must ask 5 W's also. Like, say, if I'm using a certain product, for example, WhatsApp, we can ask why. Okay, the first thing is, why do I use WhatsApp? The answer is, or let's take an example, why does Ajay use WhatsApp? Or let's take an example, why does Vikas use WhatsApp? The answer is because he wants to send messages to his knowns, right? The second why, again you ask the same question. Why does he want to send messages, right?
Yeah.
The answer is because he wants to stay connected. Then ask the third why. Why does he want to stay connected? He wants to stay connected because he feels that he might be of need to someone. Fourth why. Why does he care that someone might have a need? Because he feels that he can help the person.
Yeah.
Fifth why. Why does he want to help the person? Because he fears he might miss out on something. So, the real reason or the real insight is that fear of missing out, or what we call as FOMO.
Yeah.
So we use WhatsApp because there's FOMO. But when you ask the 5 whys, why, you arrive at the deepest insight. Okay, if you don't reply, am I missing out on if there's a group with a company and I've not seen the messages, I might miss out on something, I might have to respond to that. I can't be seen missing out to my bosses.
Yeah.
So, that's how we arrive at basically the deepest insights of how consumers operate.
Does it also have to do something with the intuition, like especially when you're crafting campaigns, when you're into your entire branding or marketing process, right?
Correct.
Asking the right questions. A lot of times, like you mentioned, we don't ask questions because we are worried about what the other person might think,
Right.
But then, to think of it, asking the questions, it has to come from intuition, right? How intuitively connected, or you're thinking about the product or your audiences. The more you do that, the more you end up asking the right questions, because it's not about just asking a question. It's also about asking the right questions.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Archimedes and Newton.
Okay.
We think, an apple fell down one day and Newton discovered the law of gravity. Archimedes was in bathtub one day and he discovered the law of gravity. I mean, that they can't be far from the truth. Newton was researching day in and day out for years together to understand why things fall down on earth.
Yeah.
Archimedes was in the same process for years when he finally discovered the law of flotation and went out of the tub shouting Eureka, right? So it's the reverse way, I would say. Intuition is an outcome of tuition. How much is your knowledge, attitude, and skills and your ability to ask the right questions?
Yeah.
The answer to those questions will lead to an idea. When you also craft a campaign for any organization, you need to be there. You need to have the right inputs for you to give them a right output.
Yes.
So, intuition comes from tuition. And tuition comes from asking why, what, when, where, how. When you do this, you will get a nice creative idea which will resonate with the consumers.
And the more you do it, the more you'll be able to ask better questions.
Absolutely.
And come up with better answers and better solutions.
That's enhancing your skills.
Yeah.
But that comes only when you're passionate about something. When you're passionate about your job, when you're passionate about adding value to what you're doing.
So curiosity and practice, in a sense.
Go hand
The
in
more
hand.
curious you are, the more you practice. The more you practice, the more curious you get. And then that goes hand in hand.
It also goes with that shloka from Bhagavad Gita, which we say, chapter 2, verse 47, Karmanya vadika raste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karam phal heturbhu mate sangostva karmani. So you have to continue doing your karma or your responsibilities. Unfortunately, most people would do it superficially because they are attached to the outcome. If you're not attached to the outcome and you do your job religiously, but you have to be passionate enough to do that. You have to be enjoying enough to do that. Otherwise, you cannot do anything. It'll be mediocrity otherwise.
So true.
And therefore, the 5% thing holds for people also. You have to be top 5% in whichever domain you are. Honestly, the world is only for top 5% people.
So let's talk about something that people often confuse themselves with. It's marketing versus sales, right? I know a lot of people who assume marketing's job is just to sell. But I'm sure you have a different take on that, don't you?
Yes, ever since my career in sales and marketing, and I go back to my MBA days where I remember reading that sales is a subset of marketing. What you realize is that sales and marketing work in harmony.
Yeah.
What does sales do? Or let's take, so there are different industries where sales has a different role. If it's pharmaceutical prescription business, then sales has to generate the prescription. Marketing has to give the right aids to the sales team, right? The sales team will do based on the relationship that they develop with the end consumers. So that's one separate specific nature of that business. But otherwise, if you look at the larger FMCG healthcare kind of domain, what's the work of sales? What can sales do? Sales can make the product available.
Yeah.
The work of a sales guy is width and depth. Now, what is width? Width is how many outlets is the product available at. And depth is how many units on an average is a retailer stocking. Right? What is the role of marketing? If it's available, someone has to go and buy. So the work of marketing is to create penetration and consumption. Penetration is how many people are buying the brand. Consumption is how frequently are they buying a brand. If you buy a brand only once and don't like the taste, flavor, experience, sensorials, you'll not buy it again. Then it doesn't lead to brand building.
Yeah.
So the more marketing creates penetration and consumption, proportionate will be the sales role to increase the width and depth. more outlets would want to buy it. More outlets will want to stock more because there is more consumer demand that's coming.
Yeah.
Right. So it's an equilibrium that you achieve. But many times we have also seen in certain categories and with certain brands, like say one brand that I know of in healthcare domain is a brand of pain relief.
Omnigel. Yeah.
Yeah. This brand is a competitor to another well-known brand. But when this brand was introduced, significant amount of profits were what were pushed to the retailers. And the retailers started pushing this brand to the end consumers. Now, a consumer would use and come back and then buy the same product again. That's how loyalties are in healthcare.
Build, yeah.
And over a period of years, this brand became big to the extent that now they've started advertising. Right? So that's a classic case of brand building where sales has put in its effort first, thanks to whatever inducements were given. But otherwise, it is marketing which has to ensure that more and more people come and buy. Now, what we discussed about mind earlier, how many minds have imbibed the brand message? How many minds have liked what the brand said or what the brand stood for? So there's something which we call as top of the mind recall.
Yeah.
Now that top of the mind recall is technically equivalent to the share that the brand enjoys in the market. So if you go to 100 consumers and ask name a brand of deodorant, maybe 7 will say KS. Right? Because that's the brand on top of their mind. And that will translate to the market share. You go and ask the same thing and 20% people say fog. So 1 out of every product sold in deodorant category is fog.
Yeah.
Now, if that is the demand that's created by marketing, the sales has to satisfy that demand by ensuring that the product is available in all channels. General trade, modern trade, e-commerce, wherever the consumer. Now, again, as you mentioned, consumer is the king.
Yeah.
He wants the product where he wants, how he wants,
wants.
at the price he wants, and the satisfaction that he wants. You provide all of this, well, he'll be with you for life.
So in essence, what you're saying is sales is something that will get your products on the shelves, but marketing is something that will ensure that people keep buying your products again and again, which will eventually end up building that long-lasting relationship with the end consumer. Correct?
Correct. The sales, as you rightly mentioned, sales brings the product on the shelf. Marketing moves it off the shelf.
Yeah. Speaking of long-term branding and long-term relationship building with the consumers, every time I think of some iconic brands, certain color pops up in my head, right? I mean, to think of it, something as simple as a color palette can make or break a brand.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, to give you an example, you cannot think of McDonald's in say a blue or white colors, right? But the moment I say McDonald's, you again end up thinking of yellow and red stripes.
Absolutely.
The shades of yellow and red in the logo symbol, right? So please tell us about that. Why colors play such an important role in making sure that your brand is a hit or a fail?
So, if you look at the semiotics, the human mind operates by those principles. And colors have semiotics, they stand for certain values as well. Right? And therefore, those values over a period of time gets, in the human mind, gets associated. The brand gets associated with those colors. Those values also are associated with those colors. So, for example, red connotes power.
Yeah.
Green connotes nature. Blue connotes cooling and soothing. Black is somewhere in the premium domain. Black is somewhere in the premium domain.
Yeah.
Right. So this is how various brands adopt colors, but that consistency in color adoption over the years reduces the buying effort at consumer level. because now you know, okay, I need to buy the red one, or I need to buy the blue one, or the yellow one. It eases your buying effort.
And it even ensures a strong recall along the way, right?
So not just colors, even packagings for that matter. To give you another example, this was the first brand that I had launched of calcium for women. Okay, this brand is very, very distinct, and you can't miss it on the shelf. So not just color, but any element of packaging also has a great, also assuages the consumer understanding effort. Right? So it's necessary to continue with the color, because if you try to tamper with it, you are actually tampering with your end consumers. Yes, there are instances where this is also, there is a corollary to this also. And I did it myself, so I'm happy to share that with you. When I was handling the brand of Crack, in one of my previous organizations, Crack had a foot on its packaging with a purple color and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I changed their entire packaging to yellow because we were to launch in Middle East and North Africa.
Okay.
Okay, that was totally new pack in yellow color with the oval shaped logo. So everything was changed. But the advantage was Crack had 80% share in the category.
Okay.
Right. So now when a consumer goes and asks for Crack, the retailer will give the new one. And even if the consumer were to say, oh, ye naya hai kya? So retailer will say, yeah, haan, bhi ye naya pack aaya. So you can't do much about it. And you have to therefore accept it. But if you don't have that kind of a leadership status and a monopoly in the market, well, you are headed for disaster if you try to tamper with colors.
Was there any thought process behind going from X color to yellow?
It was more to do with the base or the color of the end product, and also visually distinguishable, because certain colors like red, yellow, blue. Like I say, Coke is red, Pepsi is blue. That's how you associate different colors.
Yeah.
Look at all the IPL teams around.
I mean, now that I think of it, I can't visualize Mumbai Indians in anything other than the blue color, or Chennai Super Kings in anything other than yellow colors. I think it's last 17, 18 years
Yeah.
that IPL has been in the business. I think colors are something that you eventually associate, because that helps an end consumer recognize the brand very easily, right? I mean, Facebook, you see Facebook, you see blue color,
Correct,
immediately pop
correct,
up in your head,
correct.
right? You see Nike, immediately a black swoosh pops up in your head.
Correct,
So
correct.
clearly, I mean, colors, they play definitely a huge role in making sure that your brand eventually, like what we was talking about, that they manage to create that lasting impression in the consumer's mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. To me, it assuages the selling or buying effort at a consumer level. Finally, it's about mind uh, exerting less effort.
Yeah, which goes to the same point that you mentioned, that eventually you have to provide that solution to the consumer and make sure that the decision making process becomes as easy as it can be.
Absolutely.
So before we wrap up today, Ajay, I've known that you perform magic in your sessions, right? So a two-part question. First is, why is it that you perform magic in your sessions? And two, can you actually perform a magic for us today?
Yeah, sure. On your request, I'd definitely love to do the second thing. Why I perform magic on stage is very simple. Again, we're trying to impact minds, right? And mind wants to see something differential, something it's not seen before.
Yeah.
Okay. But for magic, I also have another word in English. It's called floxinosinehilipilification,
Okay.
which actually is connoting that there's actually nothing called magic.
Yeah.
Okay. Magic in life comes from consistent application of natural principles. You have to do something consistently and regularly. But on the lighter side, I will definitely perform a magic for you. And we'll also correlate with your previous question on colors. Okay, so here we go. We will look at an element of magic on your special request.
Okay.
I have a jar with me, right? Let me show you something. There's something inside the jar. You want to have a look?
Yeah.
Please put your hand inside.
The-
Put your hand inside. So that we are absolutely sure, you are...
I mean, there's nothing inside it.
Okay, there's nothing inside. Do you know the magical word?
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll cover it with the magical cloth now. Okay. There we go. And I invite you to speak the magical word 3 times.
Okay. Should I do it?
Yes? Go ahead.
Abracadabra. Abracadabra. Abracadabra.
Wonderful. So let's see what we have in the offering here. I'll remove the magical cloth because everything is in this cloth. Okay? And here we open it. And there we have some interesting offerings for you. Let's see. The purple color is for Cadbury.
Yeah.
Yeah. The red color
So Kit Kat.
is for Kit Kat. The golden yellow
5-star.
is 5-star.
That's Bounty. The Snickers.
The brown color is Snickers.
And there's Bounty.
And there's Bounty. So that's the magic for you. You're free to choose the one that you like.
I'll have a 5-star though.
Most welcome.
But
So that's magic for you.
how did you? I mean,
I know the question that you have in mind, but as you know the principle, magicians never tell.
I don't know actually what to say. I mean, can I take all the chocolates if you want?
Oh, all the colors, all for you. There you go.
Right. Ajay, this has been absolutely a fascinating conversation.
Thank you very much.
So before we wrap up, would you like to give a piece of advice to budding marketers and entrepreneurs who would want to make their brands last?
Well, who am I to give an advice? I can share experience, but I do take learnings from Bhagavad Gita and allow me to enumerate 2 shlokas which I consider very, very important for not just marketers or businesses, but in every walk of life. And those are chapter 18, verse 13 and verse 14 of Bhagavad Gita. So the verse 13 says, Panchatani Mahabaho Karnani Nibodhame Sankhye Kritante Proktani Siddhye Sarv Karmanam. Krishna says, Arjun, there are 5 elements that are responsible for everything that happens in our life as written in Sankhya, the book of karma. And the next shloka says, Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha prathagvidam vividhash pratak cheshta devam chevatr panchamam. Adhishthan means the basis of doing something. You know, the why, the purpose, that has to be right. Then comes karta. Adhishthanam tatha karta. So the basis has to be right. Then comes karta. Karta is the doer, karne wala. Now the doer also possesses 3 things, which are the knowledge, attitude and skills. ये तीनों भी सही होने चाहिए. Because if your knowledge is inadequate, your basis might be wrong of doing something. Right? So adhishthanam tatha karta karanam. Karanam are the means. You have to have the means to do anything. If you want to become a cricketer, you need a bat, you need a coach, you need a field. Vividhash pratak cheshta. So cheshta is the effort. Now, once you have the means, you also need to put in adequate efforts. जब ये चारों होता है, the basis of doing something is right, the doer is right, the means used are right, and you're putting in adequate efforts. Then comes the 5th element, which is Devam Chavatra Panchamam, or the divine, universe, consciousness, God, whatever you may term it, has no option but to support you in your endeavor. तो वो बचपन में हमें कहा गया है ना कि God helps those who help themselves. But what we have never been told is how to help ourselves. By helping ourselves, our basis, doer, means and effort has to be adequate. When we do these adequately, we reach top 5% in the world. Marketers also need to do that. Their basis of doing, their consumer understanding, their own knowledge, attitude, skills, the means that they have at their disposal, and then the right efforts in terms of right media planning, right market understanding, right product launches, all that when it is done adequately, do you achieve success. And as per HBR, 95% of all new products fail because somewhere there is a gap. So, if you apply this principle, any marketer applies this principle, success will surely be guaranteed. But all this comes in with one last line that I created, and I take it in my sessions as well. In fact, one of my full session is based on this one line. And the line is, utilize your time to increase your value by learning, because only learning contains earning.
Only learning contains earning.
Remove L and you have earning.
Earning.
So I repeat again, utilize your time to increase your value by learning, because only learning contains earning. The more you increase your value, the better you'll be able to add value to whatever you're doing in life, to the brands that you're handling, to the organization you're working, and to yourself. And your learning in life will always, and your earning in life will always be proportionate to the value that you bring to the table. So that's my message to all marketers. Utilize your time, because time is a limited commodity.
Yeah.
Everyone has limited span on earth, right? India average lifespan is 70 years. Yeah. Right? So utilize your time to increase your value by learning, because only learning contains earning.
That was an amazing piece of advice, Ajay. Thank you so much for being with us here today. And to our listeners, if you have enjoyed the episode, please like, share, and subscribe while we get back to you with more content, more insights, and expert conversations on Orange Table Podcast. Stay tuned.